So sometimes you want to spawn enemies, and what spawn means is it's a point where you have this particular object and things appear around that object as far as you tell it to. You could create an object and say spawn this player within 5 meters of the object and things like that. So when you take a look at your game, you want to make sure that there are no places that the enemy cannot get to, because then it's no fun. Then you're kind of like, you can't get to me. And a way to look at that is through your navigation mesh, your nav mesh. If you can't remember how to get there, it is Windows Navigation. So all the blue area states where my enemy can travel, and this enemy can actually follow me and get to me being the player, pretty easily. I did have one terrain that the poor enemy just couldn't get around, so I created this spawn, this little spawning object to have enemies appear randomly between the set time frame that I had chosen. So I'm going to go back in here into the game and show you how to create that in case you want to add it to your game. It did make it quite interesting playing with the spawner, and I may try it with this one as well and have multiple enemies chasing me around. But it's a simple process of creating, yet again, an empty object, and we're going to create this empty object, and we're going to name this a spawn or spawner, whatever you want to name it. So game object, create empty, and I'm just going to create it right there where this is at. Looks good to me. Let me just move it out of the way here. So we'll call it our spawner. And then we add a script to it. And you add component, new script, and we'll call it random spawner. So after you create this script, you know that it's going to fall into the root of the assets folder, right into the root. So guess what you have to do? You have to add it to your scripts folder. And do that before you open it, because you never know what's going to happen then. So you open up your scripts folder and you open up your random spawner. And I have this great little script here that could create arrays. You could create different enemies out of this. You could remove the main enemy that you have and create like these random, maybe an iguana gets spawned, maybe I have a parrot, this evil parrot that chases me around, or a mummy, or a zombie, or something, a pirate, who knows. This particular script has what is called arrays, and arrays are it's just a fancy word for a list of things that are going to happen. So we've opened our random spawner script, and we are going to add our spawner script to it. So I'm going to save it, come back into Unity, make sure there are no errors. Of course, I still have the continuing errors that appear, and these are just for a build. It's telling me these BlackBerry things are obsolete, and I need to make sure I take care of those. They're actually inside of a script that I have that I imported. So it's no big deal. I'm not going to use that script. I'm probably going to remove it so I don't have to see those errors anymore. So now I have this random spawner here, and this random spawner says, I'm gonna say, okay, 10 seconds is my max time, my minimum time that I'll spawn an object, and my max time is 35 seconds. So it could take me 35 seconds in order to spawn an enemy. And then it says how many enemies. Well, let's just say I wanted to have a whole bunch. I could say 5, and then I would just drag all these objects over here for my enemies, but I only have 1 right now. So it says what is your enemy, and I actually created the iguana prefab here. So we're just gonna grab it, and it's telling me that that one's in the assets. That's not the one I created. I created one in my prefab. See how wonderful file management is? You have something with 2 separate names, it just gives you, you know, the little cookie crumb from where it is, and this is the actual one that I want. So I'm going to double click on that. My iguana's been added. I'm going to go ahead and save here. And I'm going to play, and it might take a little while before an iguana appears, but we'll just try it out, and we'll just run around in circles and see how long it takes for an iguana to actually appear. Oh, okay. And it should be somewhere over here, hopefully. Oh, it just ran into the enemy. So what happened was, if I check out my console, it was telling me that it was self-destructing that music, but it was waiting for this many seconds to actually add that enemy. So it's working. It just didn't happen while we were there. So that's how you add an enemy spawner. Go forth and spawn enemies.